Hello, we are Group 5, and we are going to discuss how to set up a betta fish tank. I'm Caroline Norris.
I'm Ashton Mitchell.
I'm Natalie.
I'm Jacorian.
So an overview of how to set up our fish tank, we will talk about what betta fish are, what you'll need to start your betta fish habitat, how to set up your tank, how to introduce your fish into the water, and how to keep your tank clean.
I will be talking to you about the betta fish. The formal name of the betta fish is the Siamese fighting fish. The different breeds of betta fish get their names from the shapes of their tail, such as the crownfish, the delta, the double tail, or the half moon. Betta fish are native to Asia, and they like to live in shallow, slow-moving water, like ponds, creeks, or marshes. So they don't really like fast-moving water like rivers because they'll just get swept downstream. They're very slow and not very strong swimmers. In captivity, they like to live, or they live between 2 and 5 years, and they'll live longer the better you take care of them. This is a fairly short lifespan when compared to other ornate fish like the koi fish, which can live as long as 35 years. Betta fish will remain pretty small also throughout their entire life, not growing beyond 3 inches, which is good for a domesticated house fish. Now, keeping them as pets. It's important to note that male betta fish cannot be kept with other male betta fish. This is part of the reason why they are called the Siamese fighting fish, because the males are extremely territorial and they will fight each other, and ultimately one of them will kill the other one. This is unfortunate because the male fish are the more brightly colored and aesthetic fish compared to the females. So for the people that like to keep them, they cannot keep more than one male together because they'll just fight, which is unfortunate. The female betta fish can live together peacefully, though they do not like to be crowded. 4 to 6 is a pretty good number for a normal-sized fish tank, and this is called a sorority, which is a group of female betta fish. Keeping the male fish with the female fish can result in the female laying eggs and the male fertilizing them. This can result in up to 500 fertilized eggs being laid. So if you don't want to have lots of small betta fish, you need to be aware of the fact that keeping a male with a female can have unintended consequences.
So here's what you'll need to set up your fish tank. First, you'll need to get a 5-gallon tank. Usually you can buy these in kits with the water filter. It's important that your tank is 5 gallons because the bigger the better. Size matters so the ecosystem can flourish. It is easier for the water to heat consistently. It is easier for the nitrogen cycle to occur with the 5-gallon tank rather than a smaller tank. Anything larger is fine too. So you'll need your water filter, which is part of the tank. Then you'll need a water heater, which can cost around $10 to $20 or more, depending on how fancy you want it. The water filter is important because bettas come from still waters, and a filter so though they do come from still waters, the filter is still important for your tank because it keeps the tank clean and lessens the risk of harmful bacteria and disease setting up. You'll also need to purchase the substrate that goes at the bottom of your tank. This can cost you anywhere from $6 to upwards of $15, depending on how much you need and what kind you get. The kind is pretty important. You need to get small and smooth gravels so that the rocks will not harm your betta's fins. And it also helps to keep your tank cleaner because less waste can get caught in the rocks if it's smaller gravel. You might also want to decorate your tank and make it more like your betta fish's natural home with plants and decorations. These can cost from anywhere from $3 each to, even more. Bettas like to hide and sleep in caves or on big leaves. So it's better to purchase plants like that. And it's also important to stay away from plastic plants, which can rip your betta's fins. So silk or natural plants are the better option, though more expensive. You will need water conditioner to dechlorinate and neutralize the water, which can cost around $3 to $5, I guess. And lastly, you will want to get your betta fish. There's many different breeds of betta fish, and depending on the kind that you get and how pretty it is, female or male, they can cost anywhere from $5 to upwards of $20 or more. So if you're wanting to get your betta fish, it could cost you around $60, give or take a few, but it's once you get the tank and the filter and the heater and the rocks and the plants and all the food, it's going to cost you quite a sum of money.
I'm going to be telling you how to set up the tank for your fish. You're going to want to tank your 5-gallon tank and place it on a sturdy surface. You don't want it to be on some flimsy table because you're going to be adding all of the water, all of the rocks, the decorations, and you don't want all of that weight to collapse whatever it's on because that would just be a huge mess. The next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to install the filter. Most of the kits that you can buy have back hanging filters, meaning that the motor and the filter itself will be hanging off of the back of the tank while only the input and the output are facing in. To install it, you'll hang it over the back and you will extend the intake as far down to the bottom as you can without it touching the bottom of the tank. Next, you're going to add your substrate. Like Caroline said, you'll need to have small, smooth gravel. So it's a nice place for the fish to hang out on. And it also makes sure that not a lot of debris gets up inside of all the rocks. Next, you'll set up the plants and the decor. Again, as Caroline said, you'll want to have natural looking decor and lots of hiding spaces and shady areas for your fish to hang out in. You'll want to place it as natural looking as you can, but also try to avoid putting anything by the intake of the filter. You don't want that to be obstructed in any way because that could interfere with the cycling of the tank and keeping the tank clean. Next, you'll fill the tank up with water and you'll start the filter. To start the filter, what you can do is you just plug it into the wall and the motor will start going, and you need to make sure that you have water in the back of it before you start the filter. Otherwise, the motor will just run with nothing to push through. Next, you'll install the heater. Depending on what heater you get, this could be different, but most heaters, you just put the suction cups onto the heater itself and then stick them inside onto the tank. You want to make sure that the heater is fully submerged. Most of them have a little indicator for a water line. And if it's out of that, you could overheat the heater itself and it would break. So make sure that it is completely underwater. And again, to turn that on, all you have to do is plug it in. To dechlorinate your water, you will take the water conditioner, and for 5 gallons, you'll put about 3 to 5 drops of the water conditioner into the water. And then you're going to want to cycle your tank without your fish for at least 2 days. This gives the tank enough time to set up a healthy biome and ecosystem before you introduce your fish. Because if there's anything in there, like on the decorations or in the rocks, that has any bacteria on it that could be bad for the fish, this will give it enough time to where you can see either the tank will get dirty, or you can see algae growing, or it'll just die off before you can even get the fish in there. So you want to make sure that you're putting your fish in when the water is already done and ready.
Introducing your fish. When you first purchase your fish, you want to take the sealed bag that your fish comes in and float it on the surface of your aquarium's water. You should then allow the bag to sit for 10 minutes, then open the bag and add a cup of your aquarium's water. You should then reseal it and allow it to float again for an additional 10 minutes. You want to repeat the previous steps until the bag is full, and this just allows your fish to adapt to the water slowly without just being thrown into it. Keeping the tank clean. To keep the tank clean, you want to change your water and clean the gravel. You want to rinse your filter, take it out once a month, and make sure that you turn it off. You don't want to overfeed because that could cause like excess food to be stuck in the bottom of the aquarium or cause the fish to eat more than he should or she. You want to keep the tank out of direct sunlight and make sure that you get fresh water into a big tank.
So in recap, I hope you know about bettas, about how they live, and that they should probably just live by themselves. What you'll need to set up your tank, from the water filter to the tank, to the size of the tank, all the plants and decorations, how to set those up inside your tank properly, and how to introduce your fish slowly into its new environment, and how to keep your tank clean. These are our sources. And I hope that you all now know all the steps to set up your fish tank. Thank you, and do you have any questions?